Welcome back, Red Spotters, to another show here in the Red Spotlight Podcast. I'm your host, Alexis J. Soto, joined by Mr. Peter Martinez. And we are here primarily to get Peter's thoughts on two pretty big things that happened in the last couple of weeks in the world of movies. Raya and the Last Dragon, to get his thoughts on that, as well as Zack Snyder's Justice League, which dropped on HBO Max. And also to talk a little bit about The Suicide Squad, or as it's known as James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, from the, I think, beautifully something mind of James Gunn as it was advertised. So yeah,
like beautifully twisted or
beautifully something. I'll have to go look up and see exactly what it was, but we'll get into that here on Red Spotlight number 310. And for listeners out there, of course, we basically did reviews on Raya twice at this point. Fantasy Fair did a review with Kyle and Moreno.
They don't count.
And then here on Red Spotlight, we did a review with Alexis Moreno and David Francisco, as well as a review of the Snyder Cut, and we're back for more here. So, and then as always, you can listen to our podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, CastBox, YouTube, Google, iHeartRadio, every single Sunday, sometimes on Thursdays. And don't miss our weekly recaps of Falcon and the Winter Soldier with me and David Francisco. And then pretty soon, Peter and I will have reviews on films like Minari and Promising Young Woman and Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar. So we got all of that coming your way, as well as Godzilla vs. Kong and Mortal Kombat, because we have to throw some of Peter's favorites in there. Stay tuned here for Red Spotlight. Peter, I don't know why I even bother asking this question, and it seems to just waste time, but here goes nothing. How are you doing today?
I'm alive.
Great. Wonderful. All right, so let's go ahead and get to the first thing that we have today, the Suicide Squad. They dropped a trailer. Just as a little bit of an aside, I find it really hilarious that DC and Warner Brothers were kind of they went out of their way this week to be in the news every single day of the week for things that had nothing to do with the Snyder Cut or the Snyderverse.
They're burying the Snyderverse.
They're burying it.
I'm sorry, I think I said that too loud. I just saw the mic go fucking crazy. It's a new mic. If that hurt your ears, I'm sorry.
Hopefully I can fix that in post, and if there are growing pains, we can definitely improve over that. So,
because I'm used to mics barely picking up my voice, and
and now that shouldn't be an issue any longer. So yeah. You're welcome, Mr. Martinez. I heard you, and I gave you a new microphone, so you're very welcome.
With like 50 instructions. I'm recording an album here.
Yeah, recording an album. Do you realize that we have been recording for 5 to 6 years now, and the setup that you have in front of you is the original setup when I first recruited you to be part of Barely News Crew? Nothing is different. It is the exact same thing.
I'm used to my Guitar Hero mic, so...
Okay. Do we still have that?
It's somewhere. I don't know.
Okay. Because I think at one point you've had like 3 mics at your possession, and then you've just switched them around so often. So, anyway, there it is. So, the Red Band trailer was dropped today, and it was for Suicide Squad.
The gun cut.
The gun
James
cut.
Gunn,
right.
The Suicide Squad.
That's right. It was very predictable in the sense that it was awesome, it was amazing, it was hilarious, it looks like the best movie ever, and I think I speak for everyone in the world where we cannot wait for that movie to come out. That's my review.
It was very, very James Gunn. Like, I think I'm at the point where I'm really tuning in to James Gunn's writing. Like, there's a line by what's his name, John Cena. I don't know, I forgot what the name of his comic book character is, but he has a line that I 100% feel could have been written for Star-Lord, and it's delivered like I thought. If I closed my eyes and I heard it, I would think it's Star-Lord. It's when he says the dicks line, where he's like, if I had to eat 100 dicks, I would say no problemo. Like, just the way he said that right there, I was like, oh my god, that's Star-Lord. Like I could hear it. So it's like, okay, this is definitely a James Gunn film. You'll have to give it that. No, I loved it. I loved it a lot. And honestly, I think it was the fact that both Godzilla vs. Kong is coming up next week and this trailer dropping just made me go like, fuck, I miss movie theaters.
Yeah.
I just miss them so much. Because both of these films, it's just like, they'll be good to watch, but they'll be amazing to watch in a movie theater, or at least they would be.
I am starting to get that itch for it too. I was just saying with Raya, that's such a beautiful film, and for that, you know, with not to be seen on a big screen, is a shame, you know. But you know, especially with the spectacle films like Suicide Squad, that especially is just, I think those are kind of the best screenings you can go to.
Oh fuck yeah. One of the things that really took me back about this trailer is I really like the way it looks visually, like color-wise. And maybe it's just because I came away from watching the Snyder Cut recently. And it's just like, this looks really great. Like the colors that pop. Harley's outfit really really pops, and everything that's going on. It really looks good. Like it looks really good. It looks funny. I know a lot of people were kind of iffy on the humor. I find that James Gunn's humor is a little iffy for me at first too. But then on like second and third viewings, I fucking love it. And I think it's hilarious. That kind of happened to me with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. There was a few jokes where I was like, I don't know.
That's true.
And then now I'm like, I love it.
They're classics.
It's fucking yeah.
They're classics.
That's kind of where I am with his humor. And it's already working on me because there's some jokes. The first time I heard the trailer, I was like, I don't know about this. And after I've seen the trailer 50 times, I'm like, okay, I love this. This is funny. Like the Dix one. The thing that made the Dix one is the last part of that joke. He's like, who knows why villains do what they do or something like that. Like, why would they put dicks everywhere?
Yeah.
But he just takes it so seriously. Like, who knows what goes on in the minds of madmen. No, it looks great. All the characters look great. I honestly, no one has said this yet, but I have a feeling Polka Dot Man is going to be a huge standout. I think people are going to really connect with him. Because I feel like his whole shtick is he's going to be a depressed motherfucker. People are going to be like, yeah. I think they're going to gravitate towards his energy or lack thereof. No, overall, I love it.
Did it say when it's coming out?
August, right?
Yeah, I think it's still gonna. They advertise it as such day and day HBO Max in theaters, but if we're healthy, we're okay. Things should be a lot better by then.
I think by then, I hope so, right?
Yeah, yeah. I actually said this to David and Alexis yesterday that I think my belief is that the first movie that all of us are going to be okay to actually venture out and also be like a big event would be Black Widow in July. That we'll just go ahead and see it by then. Yeah.
Okay.
And if that's the case, then all of us are like, you know what, we can watch on HBO Max, sure, but we'd rather just go watch it in the theater if that's an option. So we'll go ahead and do that.
Knowing me, I would go watch it in a theater and then come home and watch it on HBO Max. Because I get that urge. Because I every time I watch a movie in the theaters that I really love, I have that urge to just see it again. And now you can fulfill that urge.
That's true, that option is there, but I may just have to resist that urge to just go back as many times as I can to a theater because of how many times I've missed in the last year. So like, I can resist the urge. You
no,
will
I
not
can't.
be able.
I have no, I can't. I have no willpower.
Let me just say a couple of things here. Like, this in terms of the quality and everything that we saw in this trailer, in terms of the dynamic of the actors, the characters, the colors, the jokes, the writing, and just like how it's going for it with these crazy characters from DC Comics that you never thought would see in live action, like Killer Shark or that kaiju Starro, which apparently was King Shark. Oh, I was thinking of Killer Croc. Sorry. Yeah, they replaced him with a much better looking thing. It looked like King Shark. This trailer is every reason why all of us were so psyched when years ago it was announced that James Gunn would be the one that would be making this movie, because it was a match made in heaven. And I think that this is the best form of vindication anybody ever has been given. It is literally, I think, a match made in heaven to what this movie needed to be. It needed James Gunn. And it seems like James Gunn needed this movie because it is very much his brand of humor, but he's not shackled to a PG-13 rating, it looks like. So he can go a little bit further, with some gory stuff, maybe in the way of King Shark, or some more hilarious. And I think for this time, there'll be a lot more Suicide Squad members literally being killed off like nothing in an actual good way.
Can I be? That's actually one of my negatives, though.
In terms of what?
I feel like I already know the ones who are going to die.
I'm sure. I mean, the ones that are, if you see the poster, there are the big stars. For a fact they're not going to kill off Margot Robbie or John Cena or what's his name?
Joel Kinnaman. Oh, I think they might kill Joel Kinnaman, actually.
Well, Joel Kinnaman, I was surprised, is more prominent in the poster. Mm-hmm. He's like dead in the center of the poster, and I he may die, but I don't think he's going to be one of the first ones to go.
It really makes it seem like there's two teams, and one team you only really see in one scene, kind of together.
Yeah.
And the other one is the main team that is supposed to be there throughout the whole film. Mm-hmm. So, you do the math as to why Captain Boomerang is not shown with Harley Quinn or Idris Elba or any of the characters.
I don't really care for Captain Boomerang anyway.
Well, it's not just Captain Boomerang. It's like Pete Davidson,
the Rat, Michael Rooker,
the Weasel, Michael Rooker. Yeah, all of those characters. They might just be a fucking gag, like
Slipknot.
Yeah, but intentional this time. It's supposed to be funny.
Yeah, which, you know what, it's interesting to hear you say that's a negative. I kind of don't care. To me,
well, it's just a negative because I can already tell. If I didn't know, I would be. Yeah, it's just because it's already. I'm
sure the deaths will be done in a hilarious way, so I think that alone will make up for it, even if it is predictable. But sure, okay. But yeah, that's. All I can say. It's just this should be easily the best DC movie in over a decade.
We'll see. I'm loving it, and yeah, I agree. I love that they brought in Starro. They're just getting weird with it. And to me, I love when comics just aren't, or comic book films aren't ashamed of being comic book films. You know what I mean? And it's just, they just do it. Like Peter Capaldi with a big dumb brain and little knobs all over it as the thinker. and King Shark is just a big shark dude. I don't know. I like it. And what's his name? Peacemaker. That's his name. John Cena.
Right, John Cena. Yeah.
I love it. It's goofy, but it's fitting, and his whole costume, his whole personality, it's just, it knows what it is, and it wears it with confidence, which is kind of James Gunn's style.
Yeah. There's just too many good things to say about all of what there is to look forward to. In terms of John Cena, I'm gonna be one of the first people to just go ahead and say this. John Cena's career, to me, has been far more interesting than Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, in the sense that and let me look at some of the movies that stick out to mind that perhaps are not all that well known, but were good quality films. But both that gave him the chance to get this comedic build that he's going for. He was great in Blockers. It was a comedy of these three single parents that raised these three best friends. If you have the opportunity to stream it, it's really good. And then the other one is That there was that Transformers movie he was in, right? Bumblebee.
Bumblebee, yeah.
Yeah, he was good in that.
My thing is like I don't know if he's a better actor than Dwayne Johnson, but I think he's got better comedic chops. I actually think he's very good comedically, more than I think people give him credit for.
Yeah, the things that he chooses are more interesting to me than anything The Rock
his projects
does.
too. Yeah, because The Rock makes the same fucking movie every year, and it's just it gets boring. I really wished he would have gone like the Tom Cruise route at least, where he tries different shit, you know. But
right. Well, at least hopefully we're seeing an emerging superstar with John Cena in the movie world, as it were. So, and we know that's not the last we'll see of him because he has a HBO Max series that James Gunn is also developing. So, on Peacemaker.
There are a lot of similarities to Guardians of the Galaxy. He's bringing in his WWE wrestler.
Ain't that the irony of it all? Ain't that the irony of it all? I remember all those years ago, back in 2016, when we were talking about, the first Suicide Squad film and how, essentially the movie in and of itself would never have been greenlit to be made in the first place if it weren't for the success of Guardians of the Galaxy. And then when we did see it, we did heavily criticize the film for many reasons, but one of the issues that weighed it down was the fact that it was trying really hard to be what Guardians of the Galaxy was. And yet here we are, where the director of Guardians of the Galaxy is now making a Suicide Squad film that actually is going to be good.
Well, they pulled the Disney method, right? Instead of just copying the competition, purchase the competition. They just got James Gunn.
I suppose in some twisted, fucked up way, we should be thanking Alan Horn for firing James Gunn in the first place, because if he didn't do that, then no way in hell would he have been recruited to do this movie.
It's the best of both worlds. And what's great is he really had, this was really the movie he wanted to make, because I think Warner Brothers was like, fucking pick, and like they literally said, any character you want to do a movie on, any property as far as DC goes, pick it. Like they even said, like, even Crypto the Superdog was on the fucking table. Like,
wow,
everything. I think they probably offered him Superman. They threw everything at him, like whatever you want to pick, and he picked himself the Suicide Squad. Which, I mean, in my mind, it's obviously a match made in heaven. But it also tells me that, like, yeah, okay, he does have a story to tell here, because he went out of the way to pick this property. So yeah, I'm happy. I'm excited. Release the Gunn cut.
Really? Yeah, I mean, it's an exciting time in general for where we are with the comic book genre in a way that I wasn't anticipating it to be. This aspect that we just discussed with James Gunn's Suicide Squad, this I was expecting it to be exciting. But I have to say something. If you had asked me, even at the end of 2020, if I would be happy with the stuff we were getting out of Marvel and the Disney Plus shows, I would have given you a couple of raised eyebrows. But I have to say,
is
with
this a smooth transition?
Well, no, we're not talking about that. We have a whole thing reserved. But what I'm saying is here, in general, where the comic book genre is right now, I was expecting to not be so happy with the stuff in the form of WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier. But so far, the stuff that we've been getting from those shows has actually been unexpected in what we thought they were going to be. We thought they were going to be empty pap that was going to, deliver what Mandalorian specialty is. And in fact, the opposite has kind of proven true. Or, it's not perfect by any means, but maybe it was our expectations were so low that what we're getting from those shows has actually have been surprisingly good. Or maybe Marvel just works better as a TV series than it did as a movie. I don't know. A lot of questions out there, but suffice to say, a lot of good content out there right now. David was raving yesterday when we were recording about Superman and Lois and the CW. A lot of people are talking about that show and how that's the Superman people have been waiting to see.
David's our resident CW watcher.
Yes, but we should note, though, that people who are not necessarily fans of that network have actually really enjoyed that particular program. And it's already been renewed for a second season. So it's seemingly delivered. So, I mean, it's a good time for good stuff for the most part. And even the Snyder Cut, which we'll get to in a minute, delivered an experience that that I think elicited enjoyment in different forms. So, yeah, it's weird how we go up and we go down with these things, because for the last couple of years we've been so pessimistic with the genre of comic book movies, and now I don't know. I'm not going to say that all of it is like all of a sudden, you know, on the up and up, but things have been shaping up to be far more promising than I and you honestly would have thought they would be. So before we get to that, I do want to mention Raya and the Last Dragon, because I suspect there's not nearly as much to say about the movie as there is about Zack Snyder stuff, just because, you know, kind of comparing apples to oranges here. And we've already kind of talked about the film at length in 2 prior installments. And so you're the only one left that hasn't had the chance to give their thoughts. But let me give a little brief recap here with Raya and the Last Dragon. I recorded a podcast with Kyle and Alexis, and the conversation resulted in tears. Literally, Alexis and Kyle were breaking down crying toward the end of the conversation. So I've been using that as a tease to get people to listen to that episode, because I was actually reading an article about representation in the movie, and then because I was reading it off my phone, and when I looked up, I realized that both of them were just completely bawling. So there is a tease for you there. Okay. I also recorded another conversation with David Francisco, and across the board, the film received the exact same high marks, with the sole exception of perhaps the messaging. Everyone had the exact same issue with the message being a little bit muddy. And
okay, I was about to jump into my opinion, but I'm not going to do that. Go ahead.
Well, I was just trying to summarize that everyone basically agreed across the board when it came to the quality of the writing, the animation, the score, not the narration, but the characters themselves, the story, the action. All of it was pretty much 10s across the board, if you want to say there. The one issue everyone had in common is they would have preferred if the film was a little bit more eloquent in getting across its main message, because basically they've given, or all of us have kind of seen the validity in what's going out there in a shared criticism that the perceived message of the film is blindly trust everybody. And that can be problematic. My response to that, and where I think all of us fell in line, was I think the film was trying to say, at least try to trust people. Make the attempt to get there. That's the first step. Be the one to take the first step. And then you can, go from there. And there were also these issues of, well, the film was, this a really complicated message, this here, that there. I wanted to get you caught up on where everybody was. Mm-hmm. So, by all means, take the road. Take the lead here.
Just a quick detour.
Sure.
I literally just saw this on the Twitter. Lindsay Ellis, I guess she deleted her Twitter because people were pissed at her and saying like, oh, this is Asian racism or whatever, because she said that the film was similar to Avatar: The Last Airbender. You have a confused look on your face, and I did as well when I saw that. I guess people were like, just because they're both Asian is saying that they're similar is racist and da-da-da. Yeah. Fucking
we've been doing that all week.
Yeah,
we've been doing that. Kyle,
It's...
Alexis, David, myself, all of us have been basically pointing out the very
similar.
overt similarities between the two projects. Are we canceled then?
This isn't even a secret. I think the filmmakers have literally come out and said that Avatar: The Last Bender wasn't his inspiration.
Of course it was. Did you not see the movie?
It's literally about warring nations in very distinct environments, these nations, and then one specific hero disappears. And then they come back and they're not this great, massive hero like many had assumed or hoped. And they're a little bit goofy and too trusting and loving. Like what am I describing? Am I describing Avatar: The Last Airbender, or am I describing Raya and the Last Dragon?
Did you read the synopsis on Letterboxd? Do you know how it starts? This is hilarious. It starts off with, long ago. What does that remind you of? The opening intro Avatar? Long ago? Like, there's a lot of similarities. Between Avatar: The Last Airbender and Raya and the Last Dragon. I don't know if that long ago argument works that well, but go ahead. You clearly didn't get it. But,
I know, I get it. I know it. Long ago, my grandma used to tell me about how everyone fucking fought. No, everyone was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone. Yeah. I hadn't seen that. And quite frankly, I think all of us are kind of dumber for hearing it.
Yeah, no, I guess all I would advise is please don't live your life online. Just please go outside. The idea that you can't compare two projects that are similar and say like, hey, these things are similar. What's up with that? Like that, there's nothing wrong with that. And you know what? Yeah.
God.
The fact that both have Asian influences is an aspect that makes them similar. Like that's not racist to point out. I don't know. Oh god. The internet is terrible. But that's why we're here. On the internet. I just wanted to point that out because I was like, wow, this is something that happened.
This is stupid.
So, my thoughts on the film. Are you okay? Fucker. Yeah, sorry. It's just I had a cat attacking me. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna be the grumpy guilt here. It was okay.
Okay.
It was an okay film. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I thought it was fine. It honestly felt like, to me, I could tell that this film went through some issues behind the scenes and it had trouble finding its exact position. I thought there was a lot of fun stuff, cool stuff, but it's just one of those films that I watched it. I was like, that was cute. It was a cute little story, and then that's it. I didn't feel much of anything beyond that.
I had I'm not going to say a similar reaction to it when I watched it initially.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it quite a bit when I first saw it. But I didn't find myself thinking too much about it afterward. Until I forced myself. I wanted to watch it again so I could, remember it and have it fresh in my mind when I discussed it with David and with Alexis. And I guess I can see what you're saying. But for me, let me put it to you this way. The first experience that I saw it, I didn't necessarily connect to what was going on. I appreciated the message that it was going for, and I was kind of in awe of the technical aspects of the film, from the score to the beauty of it, more so than I was with the story itself. But the second time that I watched it, it actually kind of moved me in a way that I wasn't expecting it to. Like in particular, when it's heading, as the movie is closing out, and when Raya basically presents to her father his dream come true, that part especially got me emotional. Because it kind of is, a story of a utopia. It kind of has that message, at least to me, of this is the world that is possible and is very much within reach if everyone is just simply prepared to put aside their differences to work in favor of peace.
You know why I didn't care? Because the message is dumb. The thing that's keeping the world from being together isn't trust. The issue isn't trust. The issue is that there's legitimately evil people in this world. They know the stakes, and it's not of like, oh, if we just trusted each other, everything will turn. No, like there's people in the world that would rather watch the world burn than lose an ounce of power. They know the stakes and they don't care. That's that, as far as I'm concerned, that's the reason why the world is as bad as it is. It has nothing to do with trust.
Anything else you want to say?
It's just so naive, and it kind of makes me angry. This idea of like, oh, if we just trusted each other, everything would be better. And it's like in the real world, that would have just got them killed, and then that would have been the end of it. Like trust isn't the issue. It just isn't. The issue is that there's bad people in the world, and we kind of have to live with them. And the issue is how to sort of maneuver around them. And yes, there is, some level of mistrust between people, but I just don't. I feel like a lot of times people's mistrust in each other is kind of understandable. And the issue again isn't trusting, it's working to be better people. I maybe if the message, and maybe this was part of the message, was just being open to people being better. You know what I mean? Like becoming better people, being open to that. I think that's a better message, because I do think there's a lot of people out there, me and you. Hopefully I'm a better person tomorrow than I am today. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't think, when I look at the issues in this country, I don't know if any of it has to do with trust necessarily. I don't know. I mean, what do you think?
I think everything you're saying is pretty much true. Although I guess I'm just far more forgiving of it than you are, it seems. Of its flawed execution of the messaging.
But it just doesn't make me feel anything within the film.
Huh.
Because it's just like I don't buy into the message, so then when they try and execute it, however they're doing it, like, because there's this belief that like every one of those leaders in every nation wants the world to be better. And it's this idea of like, I know everyone wants the world to be better. We just need to be able to trust each other, and then we'll do it. And I look at the real world, and I don't think what's holding people back is that we don't trust each other to believe that we all want the world to be better. I think the issue is a lot of people don't want the world to be better. A lot of people like the world the way it is. So it's just kind of rings kind of hollow to me. I don't know. And if it was decidedly a film for a much younger audience, where the message in general was just like trusting people is good, then I could be much more forgiving. But it's obviously trying to hit a higher age, I feel.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just doesn't work for me.
Okay. Any last thoughts?
I didn't like the writing. I didn't the modern day speak didn't work for me. It was like Shrek but taken seriously. It was weird, and it didn't. I don't know. Maybe obviously it worked for other people. It didn't work for me. The way everyone talked was a little. I don't want to use this word, but like cringe. It's kind of cringe to use the word cringe, so I don't want to use it. But it did come off that way to me.
A lot of things in this world are cringe. I don't know what.
Yes.
You have to really call it out when you feel it.
Yeah, I didn't like the way they tried to do the modern speak mixed with this tale. I just don't think it worked. The music was great. James Newton Howard is a fantastic composer. Visually, really well done. Yeah, I think visually very nice. Dragon was cute. I liked what's her name? She has a really
Awkwafina.
Awkwafina has a really cool voice. I wanted to really care about the rivalry, because I feel like if that was just written better, like I can imagine getting really into it. You know, because as the world shatters around them, they're like, let's finish this, you know, fight to the death, you know, once it starts wrapping into that third act and everything's happening, and then ultimately leading them to like try and trust one another, and then they all kind of like technically die and then they come back, and I feel like in a better written film, like for sure I could feel all that. I didn't like how the dragon came back to life. Again, that's another thing where it just feels like Disney being Disney. The story would have worked so much better if she had died, and stayed dead. You know what I mean? But Disney's like, well, we can't have the cute dragon die. How will we sell plushies? So they dragon magic, I guess. They don't have to explain it. They're just, oh, she's back alive. She's back. But it's just like, again, it's very Disney, no stakes to anything. It's okay, everything's just perfectly put back to the way it was. And it's like, no, it would have been nice to have some real stakes where this dragon that really believed in something and gave their life for it. Yeah, now the world's better because of it. But you know, that sacrifice is still there. Instead of just like, JK, they're back. Kids film. But no, so a lot of the action I thought was really cool. Visually it's really cool. The music's really cool. A lot of the characters and the interactions are really cute and well done. The dragon stuff is really cute. Yeah, like I can throw this on, like if I'm, I don't know, babysitting a kid, I can throw this on and watch it with them and have a good time. But it's okay for me. I thought it was okay.
So let me make sure I have this right. You didn't like the writing. You didn't really like the message. You said you felt nothing basically watching the movie. Sounds like you didn't really care for it at all in the least.
No, but
I just want to make sure I have that right.
The whole time I was entertained. I was entertained watching it. And it didn't end and I was angry. You know, all the negatives that I brought up, I was never angry about it. Like, oh, this is so bad, you know. It was just like, yeah, I'm not feeling this, not feeling that, not feeling this. But I'm still being entertained. But it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I watch it. It was entertaining while I watched it. But I don't necessarily feel compelled to go back to it or anything like that.
Okay.
I know I'm in the minority for this. I know I'm in the extreme minority for this. I understand that. Which is why it's maybe a good thing I didn't say all this with everyone else in their review.
All right, then. So let's go ahead and move on to the main event. Zack Snyder's Justice League. Can you believe we're here?
Wait, hold on. I got the Letterboxd.
Oh, okay. You have it? Okay, I was going to look it up.
Zack Snyder's Justice League, directed by Joss Whedon. Determined to ensure Superman's ultimate sacrifice was not in vain, Bruce Wayne aligns forces with Diana Prince with plans to recruit a team of metahumans to protect the world from an approaching threat of catastrophic proportions. You know what? I'm actually really curious if it's the same as the original.
I'll look it up.
Oh, I just did. Fueled by his restored faith in humanity and inspired by Superman's selfless act, Bruce Wayne and Diana Prince assemble a team of metahumans consisting of Barry Allen, Arthur Curry, and Victor Stone to face the catastrophic threat of Steppenwolf and the parademons who are on the hunt for the 3 mother boxes on Earth. Okay, it is different, and it's longer, and it's not necessary. Oh, wow, I just described the Snyder Cut. I'm kidding. I actually... I'm fairly positive on the Snyder Cut. I'm gonna go ahead and run in here and say overall the Snyder Cut is, despite being 4 hours, a more cohesive film, if that makes sense. It definitely works better as a film. It works infinitely better as a whole than the original Justice League. I think a lot of the action scenes work better, because I don't remember any of the action scenes from the first Justice League. None of them at all.
Let me step in here and say this.
Steppenwolf in here?
I want to kill everything right now. Continue. That's what you were saying.
Oof. Pulled a Kyle card on you. The action is better. The overall just tone of the film works. And that shouldn't be surprising, since Zack Snyder shot 90% of this fucking film before, he had to step away for unfortunate reasons. Yeah, overall, I didn't love it. I didn't. And I know I didn't love it because I watched it honestly similar to Raya and the Last Dragon. I was like, yeah, I was entertained. But I don't love it. Like, I still got issues. There was definitely a lot of cool shit in there. And some nice music. It was, yeah, like I don't regret watching it, but I'm not in love with it, right? It was okay. And I think I might be one of the few brave souls out there to actively say there are things within the original cut that I feel are better than this one. It seems like no one's willing to say that. But no, yeah.
One person did.
Oh, really? Who?
Yeah, our own David Francisco.
Really?
Yes, he said specifically to the point of how... well, I'll get to it when I get to it, because it kind of, I have to work up to it. There's a lot of things to explain, so
There's a
remind
build-up.
me. Yeah. well, not really so much of a buildup, but it's just it's a lot of words, and I don't want to say those words right now. So, yeah, but no, David did bring up one particular issue that he felt was handled better in the Whedon cut, if you want to call it that, than the Snyder cut. Everything you just said, I agree with in terms of how I feel about this. It is perhaps the most entertained I've been with anything Zack Snyder in the DC universe. That really isn't a high bar, especially with my history regarding Zack Snyder's DC films. And I've said this several times, I've been perhaps the most negative on his work. As I said in my other discussion, Man of Steel, I've watched it once. My experience was indifferent, was a complete indifference, and I can barely remember what happens in the movie. Batman v Superman, for all, you say what you want, but it was memorable in some really interesting ways. Pretty disastrous ways. I described Batman v Superman in my last podcast as one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. Because it just fails so spectacularly on every level as a movie, as a film. And then the Joss Whedon Justice League movie was in the same line of movies like Ant-Man and the Womp Womp, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, Incredibles 2, where I go into a theater, I watch the movie, it was a movie, I walked out, and then I proceed to forget it ever existed in the first place, like the following 10 minutes, and never think about it ever again. So when you look at that track record, it's a pretty horrendous track record as far as like how these movies have landed with me. So that I can sit here and say that at the bare minimum, in a 4-hour, ridiculously long cut movie, I was entertained for the most part. I feel that in and of itself is a miracle. I think that there were elements that actually worked here. But overall, I still have the exact same issues that I knew I was going to have because I've had the issues with him in BVS, and it just seems like these are just things that Zack Snyder does, and it always goes back to whether or not you love it or hate it. The profuse, is that the right word?
I think profuse.
The profuse use of slow motion is migraine inducing when it's not laughable. So that depends on whether or not you're getting annoyed or you're actually getting a chuckle out of it. The weird song choices that were so hilariously on the nose. Zack Snyder's whole thing is that the Justice League characters are gods themselves, and every single song in this movie, not only was it used, as a music video for Aquaman or a music video for Lois Lane or a music video for The Flash, but every single last one of those songs had references to gods and kingdoms, and it was over the top. But it was hilarious.
He isn't
it wasn't
a man for subtlety.
No, he's not. But I think what's different about Justice League is all the things, for the most part, the things that don't work here, they're hilarious unintentionally. Whereas in BVS, there's almost no joy in that movie. There's no joy to be found in that movie whatsoever. Whereas here, there are moments of joy in the form of Barry Allen, in the form of Bruce Wayne, or Jeremy Irons' Alfred. Yeah.
He's a great Alfred.
Yeah, he's perhaps the best thing in this movie to me, if I'm being honest there.
Yeah.
So, and you know what? You get the visual style of Zack Snyder, and maybe for the first time on me, it actually ends up working where I'm like glued to the screen. Although I feel for all the visual pizzazz and how pretty looking as it is, because it's 4 hours long, the action sequences, dear God, do they go on forever and ever and ever? Some whole action sequences are completely needless and useless, and don't need to be involved whatsoever. But my main issues overall with the film is basically Superman, and these leaps in logic.
Superman still sucks.
It's terrible. I mean, nothing can go right with it. I don't think Cavill is. I don't think he's terrible, but he there's a lot left to be desired through his performance. He's not given much at all, really, to play with here, and what he is given is just so highly questionable from all the different choices, from making him so much more powerful than everybody else to the point where he's invincible. He just shows up and cleans up the mess like in 5 seconds. The fact that he seemingly is a masochist. I don't understand why when he's beating up Steppenwolf, he is enjoying the fact that he is mutilating him and then tees it up for Diana to decapitate him. That's not the Superman that people know and love.
Yeah,
it's not at all. And
but
then
it's Zack Snyder Superman, but he's not likable. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, he's not at all. I want to give you the chance to comment on all these things, but to summarize the main point, and this whole thing with Bruce Wayne, look, the biggest missed opportunity, I will forever mourn the fact that we didn't get a Batman movie with Ben Affleck and with Jeremy Irons. Like, this was a waste, and I feel bad. But I think, Affleck is really good in the role. But what I think ultimately makes his, I guess, story arc suffer for me is I just can't buy the idea that he is so guilt-ridden over somebody who he spent the entire last film hating. And then I guess, and like, there's this pretense of a relationship that
doesn't exist,
non-existent. It just wasn't there.
Well, that's the issue with these Zack Snyder DC films. They imply so much that just isn't there. Like this love for Superman, like the way everyone looks up to him and stuff. It was never. People hated him. Like, you had that weird one montage where everyone's like, he's a god and save us, Superman. But Superman himself always just comes off like a weird selfish asshole, right? Like, even I'm really getting into it, but like, I really hate this whole Lois thing that they keep trying to push, because it proves to me time and time again that he doesn't give a fuck about anyone or anything except for what he wants and what he cares about. Like, at the end of Batman v Superman, it's heavily implied he's saved the world, not because he gave a shit about the world, but because he gave a shit about Lois. It feels like his whole arc in Batman v Superman was learning to let go of the world, say fuck him, and say, but this world is still great because I got you, Lois. And then of course the next films are going to be about him losing Lois, so he says fuck it and murders everyone. Like, why would I care? Why? He's not he's just super powerful. Just being super powerful doesn't make you inspiring. He's not an inspiring Superman, but they want you to think he is. And again, he doesn't have a relationship with Batman, but they want you to think that he does. They want you, I don't feel any sort of team dynamic at all between these people, but they want you to feel like there's a team dynamic. They barely fucking know each other. 4 hours and 4 hours of film, and them coming together at the end still feels unearned. Like, it's fucking insane. No, yeah, like, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend it's a masterpiece like everyone else. I'm just not. Like, it still has so many issues. But what sets it apart from both Man of Steel and BVS is that it's a really simple story. Alien invasion, heroes trying to come together to fight and win.
That is true. It doesn't have the convoluted fuck up that BVS had.
Yeah, that was Zack Snyder trying to be Alan Moore, and
wow.
it didn't work. It didn't work for me. I'm sorry to say. And the thing with him is, I feel like all of his, and it's gotten progressively worse with each DC film, they don't feel like films. They just feel like a collection of scenes, especially with Batman v Superman. But like, one scene did not connect to the next. It was just a collection of scenes that was dropped, and then it ended.
To be fair, though, that was my expectation with this ultimately, because that's how it felt about the previous films. It's not really like okay, this is a far more cohesive piece than the Whedon version, only because that really wasn't his movie.
It wasn't his movie. Like,
he was recutting what? Yeah,
I don't want to defend him, but I'm sorry. I know you want to say something, but you should have known that I got shit to say. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the same thing you were gonna say. So if you want to say it, go ahead. The Joss Whedon thing, yeah.
Okay. I guess we should just reference it really quick. Apparently, Joss Whedon is a massive asshole and has been his whole career. That's terrible. Bad. Very, very bad. That being said, this isn't a defense of Whedon himself as a person. This is just an acknowledgement of reality. People talk about like Joss Whedon's version of Justice League. That wasn't Joss Whedon's version. He came in at the like fucking
the 11th hour.
The 11th hour was only, he had like zero time to do anything. Most of that film was Zack Snyder's. So he had to take Zack Snyder, who is literally the opposite filmmaker than he is, insert his own scenes, whatever he could film, and try to turn it into something that was his, and at the same time keep it under 2 hours, or keep it at 2 hours.
Kevin Tsujihara, the head of the studio, said, "You need to have this movie under 2 hours, otherwise we can't get our bonuses." The executives at WB. There was a whole story about that. So in case people were wondering.
So you have that 2 hour slot with footage. 90% of the footage is supposed to go to, apparently, I wouldn't say 4 hour, 3 hour. And we'll get into the length right now. But it 2.5 to 3 hour film. And, you know, what do you, of course it was crap. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't blame Joss Whedon on it being bad, though. I do blame him for being a massive piece of shit, you know, and probably shouldn't work on a film ever again, because apparently he's super fucking abusive. But remember this, people. Talented people can be abusive. So I think that's we need to acknowledge that, because, and I think I've talked to you about this, right? I really hate whenever it comes out that someone's a piece of shit and people go like, "Oh, I never liked their films. They're terrible." And it's like, no, don't do that. You're so full of shit. That's but not only that, that's bad. Because then it creates this mindset of, if people are very talented, then they can't be abusive then. Guess what? Fucking Stanley Kubrick made great films. He was fucking abusive on set. Specifically, everyone knows the story with The Shining, okay? Alfred Hitchcock, same thing. Like this is... Acknowledge reality, people. Because it's important to stop the abuse. Anyone can be an abuser.
That whole thing is, I think, nonsensical. Like, I never liked his work anyway. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, The Avengers,
Firefly.
What was the other one?
He is like talented, but you can be very talented and a massive asshole.
Yes,
that is possible, people. And I think to deny that is to sort of give cover to other talented people. And you know, people might not feel like coming out because they're like, well, you know, they treated me like absolute garbage, but they made a great film. So, you know, who am I to say? Yeah, I don't like that shit. No, call it out wherever it may be. What was my main point? But yeah, it wasn't Joss's film, that original cut. But do you want to start with the negatives or the positives? You know what? Scratch that. Let's break it down by characters.
Okay.
Because I don't want you to talk about the Flash and then we wait and then I talk. It's like, I think it'll flow better. I might be one of the few people where I kind of liked some of the stuff for the Flash more in the Joss Whedon cut. Obviously there is worse things, like that weird joke that he can't let go, where he like falls on Wonder Woman, like, LOL. He fell on the woman's boobs, I guess. Do you remember that? That it's like when they're having a big fight with Steppenwolf in like the sewers, and Joss Whedon inserted a little gag where Flash accidentally fell on top of Wonder Woman, and his head kind of landed like right on top of her, and then it's just kind of like a whoopsie. Yeah. You don't even remember that.
No, I don't. But that sounds like that happened in Age of Ultron.
Yeah, no. Everyone pointed that out.
I don't remember that.
What's his name? Fuck. The one that plays Cyborg, Ray Fisher.
Yeah.
In one of his recent things, he literally pointed out, like, he inserted the same fucking joke from Age of Ultron into his version. That was pretty funny for Ray Fisher to say that. But no, there are things that I liked better. He did have that funny joke, the Pet Cemetery joke, from the Joss Whedon. And I thought that worked well, and I thought that was funny. That was one of the few jokes, because I actually don't find the Flash funny in either versions. I think in both versions he's still annoying.
What I recall is being far more annoyed with him in the Whedon version. Here, I enjoyed him.
Oh, you enjoyed him? Okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go that far. I still found him annoying. But the Pet Cemetery joke when Superman comes back, I thought that was funny, and I know that's in the Joss Whedon cut. And the sort of speech that Batman has with Flash when he's like, I've never killed anyone before, like I've never done battle, and Batman was like, just save one person, just save one person. And then, that kind of motivates him to go out there, and he's saving the scientists and stuff like that. I thought that was a nice moment that worked.
That was removed? Wait. That was the thing?
That was only in Joss Whedon's cut, wasn't it?
Okay. That was my question. Like, wait, because I don't remember what you're saying here. Because I don't remember seeing that in this version, in this Zack Snyder
I'm pretty sure
version.
that was only in Joss Whedon's cut.
And he removed that.
Yeah, well, because Joss Whedon did it. I'm sure Zack removed any imprint of Josh from his film.
That was actually, yeah, that should have stayed. That's actually a good, but that's not what Zack Snyder does, because he doesn't. Yeah. I think he just doesn't view superheroes the way you and I view them. It seems.
I don't want to I really love Zack Snyder. I think he's genuinely a good person, at his heart. Like, I really do. But I don't know if he has any real political beliefs or affiliations, but just based off his films, if I had to guess, he would probably be libertarian. Because a lot of the messages of his films really come off do what you want kind of things. Like when Paul Kent told him, you probably should have let those kids drown if it meant keeping your identity. And then Ma Kent was like, Ayn Rand, yes. The fact that he wants to... yeah. The fact that he wanted to make the Fountainhead, and I think he wisely went, the political climate isn't good for me to make that film right now. He literally came out and said that. I was like, I agree, Zach. Yeah. I do think he's, like I said, I do think he's a good person. I think he's a nice dude. He certainly seems that way. And everyone that works with him, I think, comes away with that belief. But the reason why I do find it hard to connect with his films, specifically his superhero films, is because they do come off very Ayn Randian, especially his Superman, which is the complete opposite of who Superman is supposed to represent. So it's a little weird.
I guess, look, when I look at how he handles the heroes here, I have to feel like, just by doing the process of elimination, I have to think that the best work he does, and maybe you could also rephrase this as the least offensive portrayal he does is with the Flash. Because when you get to the other heroes, I'm thinking, I hate how he handles Superman.
Yeah.
I do like the Batman for the most part.
Aspects of it for sure.
Yeah, I guess to me, I do see what you say about the whole killing thing and how that's been removed entirely. And you went on a whole thing about it, so I won't relitigate that. But I overall do like, maybe because of Ben Affleck, I like
Cyborg, because a lot of people came out loving Cyborg.
Yes. I guess I forgot about him. I was getting to the other ones. Arthur Curry, he really kind of does nothing with him. The same thing with Diana Prince. She's just kind of there. So the two that get the most, I guess, spotlight is Cyborg and the Flash. I think more of Cyborg now with this version, whereas in the other version I just completely forgot he was there. Yeah, I don't know. I this may be, I don't know, controversial, but I feel like Ray Fisher's delivery comes off a little too stoic most of the time.
I didn't want to say it, but yeah. I clearly all this stuff for Cyborg is a lot better. Infinitely better. But even with it infinitely better, it's still kind of whatever to me. I still feel there's not enough given to it. I understood what they were going for in the relationship with his dad. I still feel that wasn't given enough time. 4 hours, and I still don't think it was given enough time. But the reason why is because it feels like that should have been its own film. Or at the very least, they should have introduced the Flash and Aquaman in their own films first, and then maybe introduce Cyborg.
It's just hilarious how you would expect anyone to really feel anything for what you're seeing, because you're basically, it's the whole show us, don't tell us. But a lot of this movie is just telling us oh, here are the backstories of these characters, and here's why you should care. But you don't really get all that, attached to them because you still don't really know them. So my question to you, Peter, is, do you really care for any of these characters or the actors?
I want to go real back to the Flash, and we can start there talking about characters we care or don't care about. His whole thing with Iris West, that whole scene where he saves her, that didn't need to be in the film.
No, it was a music video.
That was not only, it was kind of weird.
Yeah.
The song choice, and fuck was it slow. God damn, did it take forever.
There was a close-up of a sesame seed.
But, by the way, did you see that they saw that they were able to go back and count, and 10% of the film is slow motion, which I don't know, it's 20, 25 minutes. That's fucking insane. That's so funny.
Yep.
But no, I don't care about the Flash. the stuff with his dad was neat, but again, like it's one scene and then it's boom, go, and it's like it's really not enough.
No,
for me to care all that much. And that's why it feels like these films demand that you bring your comic book knowledge of the characters to them. The issue with that is, one, not everyone has that comic book knowledge. And two, these characters aren't one-for-one recreations of their comic book counterparts. So, like, how do I know what to bring with me and what to leave? But yeah, for me, Aquaman is just terrible in this film. That's another one where I kind of like, again, I don't want to be that guy, but there was better scenes with him, I felt, in Joss Whedon's. In Joss Whedon's, he's just the guy. He just spends the whole movie going like, yo, what up? Yeah. And here you do get that, but it's also bogged down with a lot of
it's
scenes
so toned
of him
down,
moping. Yeah. A lot of moping from him and not much else. Like that one scene where a lot of people thought, again, at the time, a lot of people really liked and thought it was funny. When he's trying to give a speech about how they're going into battle and he accidentally sits on the lasso of truth. And then he starts going like, oh yeah, like talking about how he was into Diana and stuff like that.
How do you remember these scenes, Peter? I don't remember these things even existed. And that's another instance where that's actually a good scene. Now that you brought it up, I remember that. And that was good.
Yeah.
This movie could have used moments like those.
And again, I feel like, I don't know. I don't want to be the guy because everyone's hating Joss Whedon right now. And rightfully so. You know, because obviously he's coming to light what a piece of shit he is. But I'm not. I don't. This isn't about any of that, right? Like I'm not. I'm fine with Joss Whedon never making a movie again. This isn't about defending Joss Whedon or anything like that. Fuck him. You know, cast him to the wind. But if I'm gonna give you my genuine, honest look at comparisons of these two films, that first film did have some scenes that I like. I liked that little bit with Aquaman. I liked that he was more like, yeah, my man. And that is in the Zack Snyder cut, but it's layered on thick with extra footage of him just moping and bitching and walking slowly to the sea to a music video that's so unnecessary. So yeah, there's Aquaman. Wonder Woman, I don't know how to feel about Wonder Woman. Theoretically, I think Zack Snyder's Wonder Woman is better than Joss Whedon's. But I'm also not into the hyper-violent Wonder Woman.
No.
Which I understand, she is a warrior, obviously, but it's still kind of not my thing. I still prefer the Wonder Woman 1984 mall scene. Like that's my Wonder Woman.
That was a good scene. That was a really good scene.
So when she's
and apparently
out
that's
here,
blasphemous for you to say because evidently the whole world hates that movie.
Oh,
there are people who passionately hate that film.
It's not great, but
no,
again,
it's not.
Like I'm not gonna lie. Like if I like a scene, I like a scene. Like if I like shit, I like shit. If I don't, I don't. I don't. Yeah, so I'm not into.
Remind me, did Patty Jenkins's version of Wonder Woman, did she openly decapitate people?
No, but she stabbed. Right. She had a sword and shield.
Right.
She was in World War I. Like
right.
Yeah. But it wasn't like, haha. Well, it's also weird too, right? Because she saw the whole thing with the first Wonder Woman is she saw men like cut up and damaged and broken and death, and that horrified her, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like she didn't like that. So for her to kind of take glee in violence would be a little weird. At least I feel like it clashes with that Wonder Woman you saw in the first film.
Yeah.
No, that's just me. But it wouldn't clash with the Wonder Woman that Zack Snyder had in his head, who's collecting warlords' heads and shit like that. Which you can tell this is the Diana that's here, because she literally fucking beheads Steppenwolf, which kind of wasn't even necessary. Like, she just wanted to behead something. Like, he was already dead.
Well, this is what I mean. So the both times that I watched it, I could not get through the 4 hours straight. I had to break it up into like assigned viewing sections. So in both times that I saw it, I watched the first half, I went to sleep, and then I watched the second half the next day. I really was kind of put off by how they discarded Steppenwolf. You didn't need to do all of those things, because here's the thing, one of the things that sticks out for me, and this is another reason why Superman is just kind of, I think, a misfire completely. He's already beaten him, he's already mutilated him, and he's literally punching him down. He keeps punching him. He's literally punching him to death. He's enjoying it. And then behind him, Aquaman and Wonder Woman just stand there and watch.
It's like a legit beatdown you see in the side of an alley. Like, it's fucking crazy.
That just... It's really weird. These are supposed to be superheroes, and they're just seemingly taking glee and beating the crap out of... Yeah, Steppenwolf is a bad guy, but did you really have to go that far?
The fact that he's happy about it is what makes it... Like, if he was angry, you know,
sure.
like, no,
yeah.
Like, he's just letting loose on him. I get that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he lost his cool. But the fact that he's like, I love killing, you know, it's weird. And, like, in my mind...
And remember, I brought this up to the Morenos in the other podcast. Like, this is the same Superman that flew through a person in BVS.
Yeah, and he did it smiling. You remember that?
Yeah.
That was so weird. He like smiled, winked at the camera, and then whoosh, turned a person into vapor. But in my head of who these characters are, Superman beats Steppenwolf, and they physically beat him. He's probably not happy about it. You know, he's maybe angry when he's wailing on him, but he doesn't kill him. He grabs him and he throws him in the portal back to Darkseid.
And then Darkseid will kill him.
And then Darkseid kills him, and the team's kind of taken aback, like, oh shit. You know, maybe Superman's kind of like, oh, you know, he's not happy about it. He's just like, Jesus, you know, because maybe Darkseid just rips his head off, or, you know, crazy shit. That's where you can still have your violence, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was.
And I did like
Steppenwolf more in this film.
That's something we didn't mention in the other review. You're right. Steppenwolf is just so much better in terms of how he operates as a henchman villain, basically, as well as the visual effects on that character are far superior than what that ugly monster was in Justice League, the 2017 version.
That was the version they were making the entire time. And it did not change until Joss Whedon stepped in.
Yeah.
The reason why the VFX were so terrible was because they were probably completed in like the last 2 months before release. You could tell, yeah.
So that's a really questionable change. Mm-hmm. Why change the design of Steppenwolf?
I guess you just don't like it.
Yeah, I guess there's that.
But I mean, at that point, I understand it's not my film. Why add more headache? Like, just keep the design. I don't know. I still think the like armor is too much.
Mm.
Like, it's just sharp sharp angles everywhere. And it's like, what the fuck am I watching? But his face was really well done.
Yeah.
You really see the emotion in his face and his eyes and all that shit. That was all cool. And he's a big hulking alien dude, which, yeah, that's more fun.
I wanted to bring up something you had mentioned at the top, and that was with this thing with Lois is the key. And that kind of speaks to a lot of the problems with just Superman. And I brought this up to the Morenos as well. And that is, am I supposed to really be okay with the idea, because seemingly everybody else in this movie is, that the second Superman loses the person that matters most to him, he's just going to throw humanity to the trash and work for Darkseid and enslave humanity? Like, are we supposed to be okay with that? Like, are we supposed to be understanding that he would do that just because he lost one person? And I'm not seeing an outrage for that anywhere. At the same time, there's a lot of outrage out for Wanda Maximoff, who you could say kidnapped and enslaved an entire town. Nobody died. That doesn't excuse what she did, but yet there were legions of people who were demanding that she be brought to justice.
I guess I would say, I think the people demanding justice from Wanda and the people praising the Snyder Cut are probably two very different people.
Yeah.
But I agree 100%. Like, that's just another thing that just doesn't work for me with this Superman. This storyline pulls heavily from Injustice, Gods Among Us, which is the storyline in the video game where Superman turns into evil Superman. But this is what's different about that story. In that story, the Joker causes Superman to kill Lois Lane, who was carrying his son, and Superman himself kills her. He tricks him into doing it, and her heart monitor was tied to an atomic bomb in Metropolis. So when she dies, it destroys Metropolis. And out of anger, he kills for the first time the Joker. But he doesn't all of a sudden just become evil. What happens is his political stance changes, and he goes like, I can't trust humanity anymore. Like, I need to make the world better by force. So he basically becomes like totalitarian, and he forces governments, to stop fighting each other. He takes the nukes, and he kind of imposes Superman law. And of course the heroes have issues with that, and then that's where the stuff comes. But that, to me, I can track that logic, right? To me, it's still evil Superman, but I can track where he goes like, that just losing everything like that, the city he loved, his wife, his future, and it's all at his hands. He was tricked into doing it. That would push him towards extreme political beliefs so that kind of stuff doesn't happen anymore. But to go from, my wife died, I'm going to murder everyone, is a leap that I can't follow. Do you know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah.
Just, it doesn't work for me at all. To be fair, though, it is incredibly consistent with the character of Superman we've seen so far in these films. I 100% believe
that's true.
If this character lost Lois, he would go, all right, fuck it, everyone dies.
It's just a shame because, like, they're going for a number of emotional moments, and there's some really good music accompanying it in several times, and I wish I could be on board with it. I wish I could connect with it, and yet when you think about it, you really can't, because it's flawed to begin with, and it's reliant on relationships and storylines that you'd think you'd be aware of, but most of us are not because they weren't in the movies.
Yeah.
So that's ultimately, and these are issues that were always going to be a problem. They were going to be a problem if Snyder had finished the movie and it was released in 2017, and inevitably what happened here, where years down the line he was able to finish his cut, and we're still seeing it now. These problems were always going to occur because it's Zack Snyder, and I haven't read too many reviews of the Snyder Cut. I only just saw some general observations. I have to say, I don't know if some people were just scared to say anything negative, but there has been a lot of praise given to this. And there is, I think, some of it that is merited.
There is, I think, plenty to praise. There's
sure, but there's still some fundamental issues and flaws here that I guess I'm just going to assume it's just not, it's not nice anymore to dunk on Zack Snyder because of the tragedy has been in his personal life, that I guess we're not going to talk about them. And I want to say, before anybody jumps on me, I said several times that I'm happy for him that he was able to finish this movie and dedicate it to his late daughter. Mm-hmm. I think all the power to him that he was able to do this. And yeah, that should go without saying. That doesn't mean that we can't, be a little critical of this work.
I think, well, you know what it is? Maybe it is some things like, well,
Stuckman. You know what Stuckman said.
It's just like he's been through so much, and so many people wanted this, and it's really just such a celebration for Zack that this was able to come out, and the people that wanted it, where it does kind of feel, and it's also better. It's good. Like it's pretty good. It's gooder. It is. That's the best word I can use. It's gooder. So to just come out and start trashing it, it really does feel like, why rain on this parade, man? Like just let people have this, and it is gooder. So it's like, why go? I don't know, why tear this film unnecessarily to shreds when, but at the same time, I do see people kind of like, this is a fucking masterpiece. This is the greatest work of art ever. And it's like, okay, guys, I agree. I don't want to rain on your parade, but let's bring it down a notch. Okay. I'm happy you got your film. I think that's great. I'm glad you love it. I enjoyed watching it. That's the God honest truth, but I do see I don't know, people are really running with this film. But I guess at the end of the day, I think that's good for them, and I am happy for them. But yeah, I was surprised at how well it did. I guess tomato wise, you would say. Yeah. Rotten Tomato wise. Because I do think a lot of the fundamental issues still exist. One of the biggest is it doesn't have to be 4 hours. I think. Well,
yeah, go ahead.
I would genuinely like this film. I think it's a real possibility. If it was 2.5, 3 hours, I think you can cut some real fat off this puppet.
A lot of it from that epilogue, which I thought was terrible. Look, here's the thing.
You didn't like Batman telling Joker he's gonna fucking kill him?
I'd rather forget I ever watched that scene. It wasn't just, isolated to the epilogue, but, part of, I think, what makes this less a film and more of a collection of scenes is Snyder's insistence on shoving things in here that have no business being here, that are only meant to tease what's coming next, which
ain't coming.
They're not coming. So That's the thing that really perplexes me the most is if you know this is your last shot, why would you fill it in with a bunch of junk that's just not going to lead anywhere, you know? I guess there was maybe some thought that maybe he was angling or lobbying for more of this stuff to go on, but that clearly isn't happening, so it just feels like a waste happening. But look, I have questions here.
Never doubt the Snyder fans, apparently.
Look, why is there a whole aside to anti-life, whatever the fuck that is?
Okay.
You know, yeah.
I kind of know what that is. I've never been as big a DC guy as I have a Marvel. The closest I can come to it is anti-life to Darkseid is Infinity Glove stones to Thanos. It's called the anti-life equation. And I guess it's a fucking equation that, like, you control all life or kill all life. It's something like that. I know I'm probably getting it somewhat wrong because I know very little about DC stuff in comparison to Marvel. But that's because...
But that's another example of what happened in BVS, where the movie just stops and gives you a commercial for what's next. Like, it doesn't really need to be there. And then the same thing goes... Go ahead, Peter.
I was going to say it's far more egregious with Martian Manhunter.
That was going to say. It's far more because it ruins a genuinely good scene between these two actors.
That was so... Was that not fucking weird?
Yeah.
Especially if you don't know who Martian Manhunter is. You're just like, what the fuck? Because you go like, oh, wow, that was a nice scene. Wait, what? It's a fucking alien? Like, what's going on? And it's also weird because it's like, it brings up so many more questions. Why, in the middle of all this bullshit, he felt the need to comfort Lois, who he has no idea who the fuck she is? And he's just kind of like...
The world needs
Lois.
You too, Lois.
Why? No, it doesn't. Like, what are you doing?
It honestly, that's kind of the worst of Snyder for me. Or like, Diane Lane and Amy Adams were great in that scene, and that was just completely ruined by the fact that wasn't even the character that we thought it was. It was just a waste of a moment.
Yeah, that scene worked because it was between those two characters, and then it's just some random alien, I guess, who's a big fan of her reporting and doesn't want to see it go to waste.
And then it's worse when you think about it, because I think it has the potential to tease things that never happened in this movie. David told me he thought when he saw that Martian Manhunter scene that meant Manhunter would appear in the final battle with the Justice League.
That is implied. I think that's somewhat implied. I do. Especially because it's like right in the middle of the film.
And then that doesn't happen.
I never thought it would happen because I knew they wouldn't be able to film anything like that.
Right.
But, yeah, it's not necessary. But again, I think similar to the Batman and Joker scene, Zack Snyder did kind of understand this was his last shot. So he just wanted to throw in shit that he had wanted to do or see within his films.
Yeah, so that sequence that everyone's talking about is another nightmare sequence. I guess it does a little bit of work to fill in the gaps with future Flash. They're going, this is the dystopian future. They're going to go find this place so they can get the message back to Batman of Lois is the key. It's still annoyingly long. The pauses were weird. I don't know why the camera was out of focus. I think the dialogue was atrocious on every level. And I said this in the other podcast. I think Jared Leto, contrary to popular, belief, I think he's even worse here than he was in Suicide Squad.
Really?
None of it worked for me, if I'm being honest with you. None of it worked for me.
I don't think it was good, but I did think he was better than in Suicide Squad.
I didn't like him in Suicide Squad. I just didn't think he was any better here. I don't know.
I
didn't
guess my
land with
thing
me.
is, again, my whole thing is, why hasn't Batman killed him yet? Batman just goes around killing everyone, but for some reason, like, the world's ended. Like, just kill this motherfucker. Why are you working with him? Why do you need to work with him? What does he have that's so special? He's just a crazy motherfucker. Break his neck and then keep moving. Like, I don't get it. But also, again, I've never seen Batman just get him Joker's face. When this is over, I'm gonna fucking kill you, bitch. Like, it's just not Batman to me. It's barely the Punisher. Like, I don't even know what it is.
If it was the Punisher, Joker wouldn't be standing there. He'd be, 6 feet in the ground.
That's what's weird, though. Like, this is clearly a Batman who's cool with killing, but for 20, and he's been this way for, I assume, 20 years as Batman, but is Joker still alive for some reason? Okay. I don't know. That whole shit is weird. Although, this is the thing. I think I would have liked the second Justice League that he made.
Really?
And the reason why I like that is because it would have literally just been Mad Max Batman. I think he clearly loves this nightmare world thing, and I think he would have gone full force into it for the second film. The second film would have been that. You would have seen the world go to shit. Maybe like the first third or first half is just the world falling to pieces. And then the second half is Mad Max Batman. And that would have been fun. I think a lot of people would have hated it. Not me. I think it would have allowed Zack Snyder to go full Snyder. Because even here, you can tell he didn't go full Snyder. It's lighter and more humorous.
Yeah. I think this is what, ultimately, there's I think of this as more favorable in general compared to BVS, because, as I said earlier, there was like little to no joy to be found in BVS. It was dour, it was depressing, it was actually kind of infuriating when it wasn't boring or making sense. So here, there's entertainment, genuine entertainment to be found, and joy. And actually, I think David spoke to this as well. It actually succeeds at being uplifting and hopeful.
Yeah. It's less, the world is a cold, dark place and we need a murder. And it's more like, there's hope. Kal-El, da-da-da-da-da. It goes back to Man of Steel, where it's like, you will be a beacon to them, and da-da-da-da-da, but far less 9/11 imagery. So it lands a little bit better. Yeah, I still don't feel it, but it doesn't feel like you're being weighed down by the heaviness of the film. It feels lighter.
Fucking BVS is an anchor on your soul.
It is. I just can't. I can't with that film. It's so fucking crazy.
I haven't gone back and watched those movies in years.
I have no need to. I thought about, like, should I like watch these films in preparation for the Snyder Cut? But I was like, no, it would just be torture to me. Like, I don't. Let me just watch the film, and what I think about it is what I think about it.
Didn't we? But don't we have an audio commentary on file here for BVS?
We do. I think we have two. Because I think we did the original BVS, and then I think we did the extended edition, didn't we?
The first time, the first time we recorded it, it was never released.
Oh, okay.
It was lost, so we had to do it again. So I think the one that is on the feed is the second attempt at doing it, and that one succeeded.
Okay. I'm not sure, though.
I was actually considering going back and listening to our original review of Justice League because it's been so long that I don't really remember much of it. But I know our consensus was it was a movie.
Yeah, I don't think my beliefs have changed at all on that film.
No,
it's as hollow as can be, and that's the thing. This film is not hollow. It very much contains Zack Snyder's heart, and I think that's where it succeeds. And I think that's fantastic, especially because of the unfortunate tragedy that he was sort of enwrapped in. This film is kind of his film on hopefulness, and I think it works together, and I think it's beautiful in a poetic way, and that way. But yeah, the Snyder Cut. I'm very happy that it exists, and I'm very happy that Zack Snyder got to share his Justice League with the world, and I'm happy the Snyder fans got to experience it because I know they wanted it badly.
What do you make of how Warner Brothers has been treating this in the week since its release, with all of these casting updates and announcements and the trailer dropping, and because we both mentioned at the top that it felt very much like they were trying to bury this. This is something that they poured $70 million to be a premiere item on their streaming service. Wouldn't you think this would be something that they would be propping up and promoting to get the most out of the $70 million they spent on it?
No.
Okay, tell me why.
Because it went to HBO Max. They're not making money off of it. These you know what money they are going to make off of? They're going to make money off of the Suicide Squad, off of Black Adam, off of Shazam 2, off of The Batman, off of these future DC films. My thing is, the only reason this film exists, Snyder fans got very lucky. I know a lot of them think it's because they were able to bully WB into giving them the film that they wanted. Yes and no. Yes, obviously, your rabble-rousing was able to get their attention and get them to do this, but the only reason it actually happened is because of HBO Max. And maybe even because of the pandemic. They needed content. And it's a lot easier to just give some money very quickly to finish this and then put it out there and garner a lot of buzz because of it than to invest twice that into a new show or a new film. I mean, you've already paid for all this footage. Might as well just pay a little bit more to finish it. Throw it out there. There's some audience for it. Easy peasy. But the reality is, at the same time this was going on, they were already moving on as far as their films. They have moved on. They have all these things that they're investing in right now, all this talent, all these films, all these stories. They're not going to go backwards. You only got the Snyder Cut because luckily the whole situation with the HBO Max happened. If HBO Max was never a thing, you never would have got the Snyder Cut. So I mean, if people want to keep trying to make the Snyderverse happen, you might be able to make something happen on HBO Max. Maybe not Justice League 2. I think you'd have to put way too much money in for Justice League 2, but maybe something within the Snyderverse, maybe. But I would suggest just being really happy with the fact that this cut of the film exists at all in the first place.
Yeah. That's a big old yeah. I'm out of things to say. How about you?
Yeah, why not?
All right. Thank you all so much for listening. Catch us back next time. Stay under the spotlight. Bye.